Ethan opened his eyes to a strange light. It was not the soft yellow glow of Earth's morning sun, nor the white glare of a hospital ceiling. The light above him shimmered with a faint bluish tint, like water reflecting the moon. For a long moment he could not move. His body felt heavy, his breath shallow. He blinked slowly, adjusting to the unusual brightness, and tried to remember what had happened. His last clear memory was of home, a small apartment in the city, and then nothing but a flash, a roar, and darkness. As his eyes finally focused, Ethan realized he was not alone. Just a few steps away, standing in silence, was a figure unlike anyone he had ever seen. She was tall, slender, and graceful, her skin faintly silver as though it had caught starlight and held onto it. Her large, deep-set eyes glowed softly, not with heat but with a quiet awareness. Her hair, or something like it, fell like strands of dark silk across her shoulders, shifting as if alive. She watched him carefully, her posture still and calm, like a guardian or a sentry who had been waiting for this exact moment. Ethan's throat was dry. He tried to speak, but only a hoarse sound escaped. The figure tilted her head as if she understood his struggle. Then she spoke, her voice clear, soft, and melodic, though her words carried an unusual rhythm, almost like music. "You are awake," she said. Ethan froze. It wasn't just the sight of her that shocked him. It was the fact that he could understand her perfectly, as if her words were translated inside his mind. He opened his mouth again, forcing out a whisper. "Where am I?" The alien girl stepped closer. Her presence was strange but not threatening. There was something careful in the way she moved, as though she didn't want to scare him. She stopped at the edge of his bed, folding her hands in front of her. "You are safe," she said. "You were brought here after the event on your world. I am Liara. I am your assigned roommate." The word echoed oddly in his head. Roommate. Ethan almost laughed, though his throat was too dry to let it out. Of all the things he expected, sharing a room with an alien was not on the list. He tried to sit up. His muscles trembled, but he managed to lift himself onto his elbows. The room around him was smooth and curved, with no sharp corners. The walls glowed faintly, as if alive, breathing with soft light. It wasn't a prison cell, and it wasn't a hospital either. It felt otherworldly. "What happened?" Ethan asked. "What do you mean, the event?" Liara's expression shifted slightly, though her face was hard to read. "Your world suffered a great disaster. Many were lost. You were found unconscious at the edge of a ruined city. The Coalition decided to bring you here." Her words struck him like a blade. A ruined city, many lost. His stomach turned cold. Was everyone gone? His family, his friends, all the familiar streets and voices of Earth? Had they vanished in an instant? He wanted to ask more, but his voice caught and he stayed silent. Liara did not press him. She simply stood there, patient, as if she had expected this reaction. After a long pause, she spoke again. "You will recover here. This station is safe. I am to stay with you, learn from you, and assist you." "Learn from me?" Ethan asked weakly. She nodded. "Humans are not well understood. My people do not know why you endure as you do, why you adapt when others cannot. I was chosen to observe, to stay close." Her honesty startled him. She wasn't hiding her intentions. She said it as if it were the simplest truth. Ethan looked at her, uncertain whether to feel grateful or trapped. He could not yet decide if she was a caretaker, a scientist, or a warden. Silence filled the room for a while, broken only by the faint hum of unseen machines. Ethan lay back slowly, letting the strange ceiling glow above him. His mind was torn between fear and curiosity. He wanted answers, but more than that, he wanted to survive. When he turned his head, he saw Liara still watching him, her gaze calm and steady. She had not moved, as if guarding him. Her closeness was strange, almost intrusive, yet there was no malice in it. For the first time since waking, Ethan allowed himself to breathe deeply. He was alive, though his world was gone. He was not alone, though his companion was not human. And whether he liked it or not, this silver-skinned stranger was now a part of his new reality. As sleep pulled at him again, Ethan's last thought before drifting off was simple and unsettling. When he opened his eyes, she was there, and he knew she would not leave his side. Ethan woke again some hours later, though he could not tell how much time had passed. The strange ceiling still glowed softly, never dimming, never brightening, making it impossible to guess the hour. He sat up slowly this time, his body stronger than before. His eyes searched the room, and just as he expected, Liara was still there. She stood near the wall, motionless, as if she had been waiting for him to rise. When she noticed his movement, her head tilted slightly and her eyes lit with the faintest glow. "You are stronger," she said softly. Ethan gave a small nod. "A little, though my head still feels heavy." Liara walked toward a table that appeared to rise naturally from the floor. She picked up a container shaped like a crystal and poured a clear liquid into a cup. She offered it to him with both hands. "Drink this. It will restore balance to your body." Ethan hesitated, staring at the cup. The liquid looked like water, but he could not be sure. He raised his eyes to hers, searching for any sign of trickery. Her face remained calm, patient. Finally, he accepted it and took a cautious sip. To his surprise, it tasted fresh, cleaner than any water he had ever known. He drank the rest quickly. His throat relaxed, and he let out a small breath. "Thank you," he murmured. Liara gave the smallest nod. She seemed unused to gratitude, almost uncertain how to respond. Silence stretched between them for a while until Ethan decided to break it. "So this is where I live now?" he asked. Liara's expression did not change, but her voice carried a strange weight. "For now, until the council decides otherwise." "The council?" She moved closer and stood near the edge of his bed. "The station is ruled by many voices. They chose to bring you here. They chose to keep you alive. But their choice is not final. They fear humans, yet they also wish to understand them." Ethan frowned. "Fear? Why would they fear me? I'm just one man." Her gaze rested on him, steady and unblinking. "One man, yes. But one human. That is enough." He felt a chill run down his spine. He wanted to ask what she meant, but her tone made him realize she would not explain everything yet. Instead, he leaned back, trying to process her words. Liara spoke again, her voice softer now. "I was chosen to stay with you, to watch, to record, to learn. But more than that, I am here to help you. You may ask me anything. You may rely on me." Ethan studied her face. For the first time, he noticed something almost human in her expression. Not warmth exactly, but sincerity. She was telling him the truth, or at least the truth as she understood it. "Well," he said at last, "if you're going to stay close to me, I guess I should get used to it. But tell me something. Why do you care so much about what humans can do?" Her eyes shifted slightly as if searching for the right words. "Because you endure. Where others break, you bend and survive. Your kind adapts to storms, to hunger, to war. My people do not understand this. We plan for every step, but we do not change. You change with every breath." Ethan felt a strange mix of pride and sadness. He thought of Earth, of the countless struggles humanity had faced and the endless disasters that shaped them. To hear an alien speak of it with such curiosity was both unsettling and oddly comforting. "Maybe we change because we have no choice," he said quietly. Liara tilted her head again. "Perhaps. But that is what makes you dangerous." "And what makes you important?" The words lingered in the air. Ethan wasn't sure he liked being called dangerous, but he could not deny there was truth in her tone. His stomach growled then, breaking the heavy silence. He flushed slightly, embarrassed, but Liara did not laugh. Instead, she retrieved another container from the table. Inside were strange shapes, glowing faintly like fruit carved from crystal. She offered them to him. He picked one carefully, biting into it with hesitation. The taste was sweet, but not in any way he recognized. It reminded him faintly of berries, though lighter, almost airy. He finished it quickly. As he ate, Liara watched, almost fascinated. "Your body accepts it well," she said, as though recording an observation. Ethan sighed. "I guess this is my new diet then." For the first time, he thought he saw the edge of a smile on her lips. Small, faint, but there. Time passed quietly as he grew stronger. He tried walking across the room, his legs shaky at first, but they steadied after several steps. Liara followed. Not too close, but always within reach, her presence like a shadow that would not leave. When Ethan finally sat down again, breathing hard but proud of his small progress, he looked at her. "You really don't plan to leave me alone, do you?" Her reply was simple, almost firm. "No, I will stay close." Ethan shook his head lightly. Part of him wanted to be annoyed, but another part felt strangely secure. In this alien place with no family and no familiar world left, the presence of someone, even a stranger of silver skin and starlit eyes, was a comfort he could not ignore. That night, as he lay down to rest again, he found himself thinking less of fear and more of curiosity. The alien roommate who never left his side might be the key to understanding why he was here, and perhaps even the key to what humanity meant in this vast and unfamiliar galaxy. And as sleep took him, one thought lingered in his mind. Maybe being close to her wasn't such a bad thing after all. Days passed slowly aboard the station, though Ethan had no real way to measure them. The walls never changed their glow, and there was no sunrise or sunset to guide him. He began to build a rhythm of his own, waking, eating, moving around the room to keep his body strong. Through it all, Liara never left his side. She was always there, watching with quiet interest, answering his questions when she chose to, and remaining silent when she felt it was better for him to think. At first, her constant nearness was uncomfortable. He had grown up used to privacy, used to the idea of being able to close a door and be alone. Here, such an idea didn't seem to exist. Whenever he opened his eyes, she was already awake, her gaze calm and steady. Whenever he moved, she followed with a graceful step. Yet slowly the strangeness began to shift into something else. He realized she was not there to control him, nor to command him. She was simply present, a silent companion in a world that no longer felt like his own. One evening, or what he guessed was evening, since his body felt heavy with tiredness, Ethan decided to speak more openly. He sat at the edge of his bed, chewing on one of the glowing fruits, while Liara stood nearby. "You watch me like I'm some kind of mystery," he said, his voice low but steady. Liara's head tilted slightly, her expression unchanged. "You are," she replied simply. He gave a small laugh, though there was no humor in it. "I don't feel like a mystery. I feel lost. My home is gone, and I'm just trying to understand why I'm here at all." She moved a little closer, her eyes never leaving his. "You are here because your kind confuses us. My people do not understand why you survive where others fall, why you fight storms and hunger and war and still rise again. We wish to see how. We wish to know why." Ethan swallowed the last bite of the fruit and set the empty shell on the table. "Maybe it's not something you can study. Maybe it's just who we are." Liara's gaze softened, though only slightly. "That is what makes you different. For us, survival is calculation. Every step is planned, every action measured. But you—" She paused, searching for the right word. "You endure through chaos. You act without certainty, and still you succeed." Her words made Ethan think of Earth. He thought of people rebuilding after storms, of families surviving through wars, of explorers climbing mountains without knowing if they would ever come down. For the first time since he woke on the station, he felt a spark of pride for being human. "Maybe that's true," he admitted, "but it also means we make mistakes, big ones. We destroy things too. Yet you rebuild," Liara said quickly. "That is the difference. Others destroy and end. You destroy and begin again." Her voice carried a quiet intensity that surprised him. He had thought of her as cold, almost detached. But in that moment he saw something else. Genuine curiosity, maybe even admiration. Ethan leaned back against the bed, his mind heavy with thoughts. "So what happens to me now? Do I just live here forever while you watch and take notes?" Liara hesitated. "The council will decide. Some wish to send you away. Others wish to keep you here. I do not know what their final choice will be." Her words struck him with unease. The idea of being judged by a group of unseen voices made his stomach tighten. But then he noticed the way she looked at him, not with suspicion but with quiet loyalty. She was not just an observer anymore. "You don't want me gone, do you?" he asked softly. For a long moment she was silent. Finally she spoke, her voice quieter than before. "No, I do not." Those simple words carried more weight than he expected. He felt a warmth rise in his chest, a strange comfort in knowing that even here, in this alien place, someone wished for him to stay. That night, he asked her to tell him more about her world. At first she resisted, saying it was not important, but when he pressed gently, she relented. She spoke of vast oceans that shimmered under twin suns, of cities that grew from living crystal, and of her people's long history of order and control. Ethan listened closely, imagining landscapes he could hardly picture, and though her world sounded beautiful, he noticed how her tone never carried the joy of discovery. It was as if everything had already been decided for her people, leaving no room for change, no space for surprise. When she finished, Ethan smiled faintly. "Sounds perfect," he said, "but also empty." On Earth, we never really had control, and maybe that's why life felt alive. Liara looked at him, her eyes reflecting the soft glow of the walls. Perhaps, she said, almost as if to herself. As he drifted toward sleep, Ethan realized something had shifted between them. Liara was no longer only a watcher. She was becoming something else. Someone who wanted to understand him not just because of her orders, but because she truly wished to know. And in that realization, Ethan felt less alone. When he closed his eyes, he knew that when he opened them again, she would still be there, staying close, just as she promised. Ethan had grown stronger. His legs no longer shook when he walked, and his voice carried more confidence. He had begun to accept that this strange station was now his home, at least for the moment. Liara remained always at his side, never far, as if bound by an unseen thread. Sometimes he wished for more space, but he also knew her presence kept him from feeling lost. One day, as he paced slowly around the room, he heard something new. A low rumble shook the floor beneath his feet. The glow of the walls flickered just for a second. Ethan froze, turning toward Liara. Her expression tightened, the calm mask she always wore breaking for the first time. "What was that?" he asked quickly. Her eyes shifted to the ceiling as if she could see through the walls. "A failure in the station systems," she said. Her voice was calm, but her shoulders had stiffened. "We must remain here," Ethan frowned. "Remain here? Shouldn't someone do something?" Before Liara could answer, the rumble returned, louder this time. The light in the walls dimmed, and a high-pitched alarm echoed faintly in the distance. Ethan felt his chest tighten. He had grown used to the strange peace of this place, but now he felt the sharp bite of danger. The door to his room slid open suddenly. A tall alien with dark green skin and glowing eyes stepped inside. His movements were quick, almost urgent. He spoke directly to Liara, his words sharp and fast in a language Ethan could not understand. Liara replied with the same speed, her tone clipped but steady. Ethan stood there, confused and uneasy. "What's happening?" he demanded. Liara turned back to him, her face serious. "There is a problem with the energy core. It is unstable. The crew is responding, but—" She hesitated for the briefest moment. "The chances of failure are high." The alien beside her gave Ethan a look of clear distrust before leaving quickly. Ethan felt his pulse race. "An energy core? If that thing goes, the whole station—" "Yes," Liara interrupted softly. "The station would be lost." Ethan's first instinct was to move, to run, to find some way to help. He could not stand the thought of sitting in a room waiting for disaster. He stepped toward the door, but Liara blocked his way with a graceful movement. "No," she said firmly. "It is too dangerous. You must stay here." Ethan looked at her, frustration burning in his chest. "Stay here and do what? Wait to die? That's not how humans work. If there's a chance to fix this, I need to try." Liara shook her head. "You do not understand the systems. You cannot—" But Ethan cut her off. "Maybe I don't understand your systems, but I know problems. Back on Earth, we had blackouts, we had machines that failed. We had disasters that could kill hundreds if no one acted. And sometimes the only reason people lived was because someone took the risk to act fast. If your crew is stuck waiting for orders, then maybe what they need is someone who doesn't wait." Her eyes widened slightly, as if his words had struck her deeply. For a long moment, she simply stared at him. Then slowly she stepped aside. "If you go," she said quietly, "I will go with you." Together they left the room, moving into the wide corridors of the station. The air was filled with alarms now, the walls pulsing dimly as if the station itself was in pain. Ethan followed Liara as she guided him toward the core chamber. Along the way they passed other aliens, some rushing with tools, others frozen in hesitation, waiting for orders from their leaders. Ethan noticed how many stood still, uncertain, unwilling to act without command. When they reached the chamber, the heat hit him first. The great machine at the center of the room glowed dangerously, sparks of energy snapping across its surface. Ethan saw several aliens standing around it, speaking quickly, but none moved closer. He stepped forward before anyone could stop him. "You can't just stand here. It's going to blow if you wait." The aliens looked at him with shock, some with open hostility. One shouted something in their language, pointing at him angrily. Liara moved to his side, her voice sharp as she spoke to them in quick bursts. They fell silent, though their expressions were tense. Ethan ignored them and looked at the machine. He didn't know its design, but he understood enough to see what was wrong. Energy was building where it shouldn't, pressure trapped with no release. It reminded him of old generators he had seen on Earth, different in shape, but the danger was the same. "Where's the emergency vent?" he asked quickly. Liara pointed to a panel near the floor. Sparks flew from it, the surface glowing red with heat. Ethan pulled off the outer layer of his shirt, wrapping it around his hands, and dropped to his knees. The aliens gasped as he yanked open the panel and reached inside, ignoring the sting of heat on his arms. He felt the hum of raw power vibrating through the cables, the kind of danger that told him one wrong move would end everything. "Hold this steady," he said to Liara, guiding her hands to a lever hidden inside. She obeyed without hesitation, her silver fingers steady and sure. Together they pulled with all their strength. For a moment nothing happened. Then with a deep roar the core released a surge of light. The glow dimmed, the sparks stopped, and the machine's hum steadied into a softer rhythm. The danger was gone, the room fell silent. The crew stared at Ethan in shock, their eyes wide, their voices hushed. Ethan stood slowly, his hands burned but steady. He looked at Liara. She met his gaze with something new in her expression. Not just curiosity, but respect. "You acted without waiting," she said quietly. "That's what humans do," Ethan replied. "We don't just wait for orders. We try, we risk. Sometimes that's the only way to survive." And in that moment, Liara understood why she had been told to stay close. The energy core was stable again, but the air on the station felt heavier than before. Ethan could sense it each time he walked through the corridors with Liara by his side. The aliens looked at him differently now. Some watched him with wide eyes, their expressions filled with quiet respect. Others glared, whispering sharply to one another when they thought he couldn't hear. It didn't take long for him to realize not everyone was glad he had helped. One evening, as he sat at the table in his room, eating the glowing fruit that had become his regular meal, Liara stood near the wall, unusually silent. She had been quiet all day, her eyes distant. Ethan noticed immediately. "What is it?" he asked. She turned her gaze toward him. "The council met. They spoke of you." Ethan set the fruit down. "And what did they say?" Her lips pressed together. "Some believe you saved the station because you are reckless. They say it was luck, not skill. Others fear your actions prove the warnings about humans are true." Ethan leaned back slowly, his jaw tightening. "Warnings?" "Yes," Liara said softly. "They say humans act without thought, that you are too unpredictable. They believe you are dangerous to the balance of our ways." Ethan gave a bitter laugh. "So I save their lives, and the thanks I get is being called a threat." Liara's expression shifted, faint sorrow in her eyes. "Not all of them think this way. Some now see you as a reason to study humans more closely, to learn from you. But there are voices that wish you gone, back to your ruined world, or worse, left with no world at all." The weight of her words sank into him. He wanted to shout, to argue, but instead he sat there in silence. The thought of being cast out, abandoned in the void, chilled him more than he wanted to admit. Finally he said, "And what about you? Do you agree with them?" Her eyes held his firmly. "No, I saw what you did. You saw a problem and you moved. My people would have waited, and the station would have burned. You saved us because you acted. That is not recklessness. That is courage." Her voice carried more emotion than he had ever heard from her. Ethan felt a warmth in his chest, though it was mixed with unease. He was grateful for her loyalty, but he also knew her defense of him would not silence the council. Later that night, when he tried to rest, he heard voices outside the door. The words were in the alien tongue, but the tone was sharp, angry. Liara stepped out to meet them, her own voice low and controlled. Ethan could not understand what they said, but he could hear the edge in it, the distrust, the fear. When she returned, her face was calm again, but her shoulders were tense. "They do not trust you," she admitted. "Some believe you will bring ruin to us." Ethan sat up in his bed, frustration spilling over. "I didn't come here by choice. I didn't ask to be part of your station or your council. But if they're going to judge me, then they should at least look at the truth. I'm alive because I don't give up. I helped because that's what humans do. We try, even if it looks impossible." Liara stepped closer, her silver skin glowing faintly in the dim light. "That is what frightens them. They cannot predict you. They cannot control you." Her words settled into him like stones. He had always known humans were stubborn, but he never thought it could be seen as a danger. The days that followed grew heavier. Some aliens avoided him entirely, turning their backs when he passed. Others whispered openly, their voices carrying mistrust. A few, however, nodded to him with quiet respect, a small recognition of what he had done. The station felt divided, and Ethan was at the center of it. Liara never left his side. If anything, she stayed closer than ever, her gaze always alert, as if guarding him not only from the danger of space but from the hostility of those around them. Ethan began to realize that she was no longer just following orders. She was making a choice. She was choosing to stand with him. One evening, as they looked out a wide viewport at the endless stars, Ethan broke the silence. "They'll never accept me, will they?" Liara did not answer immediately. Her eyes were fixed on the galaxy beyond, her reflection faint in the glass. Finally she spoke. "Some may never. But others, they will see what I see." Ethan turned toward her. "And what do you see?" She met his gaze, her expression steady. "I see a human who survived when he should not have, who acted when others froze, who carries both danger and hope within him. I see someone who should not be cast aside." Her words touched something deep within him. For the first time since arriving, he felt not just like a subject of study but like a person who mattered. Still, he knew the Council's decision was coming, and it would not be easy. Whatever future lay ahead, it would test not only him but the fragile bond between him and the alien roommate who refused to leave his side. The calm of the station did not last. One moment the corridors were quiet, the hum of machinery steady. The next, alarms shrieked with sudden urgency. Red lights flashed across the walls and a deep vibration ran through the floor. Ethan felt his heart leap into his throat. He had seen danger before, but nothing like this. Liara appeared immediately at his side, her movements swift and precise. "They are approaching," she said. Her voice was low, tense yet controlled. "Enemy ships." The Council did not expect an attack so soon. Ethan's mind raced. He had watched and learned the station's patterns over the past days. The aliens were highly organized, but their reactions were deliberate, slow, and careful. That would not be fast enough to survive a sudden assault. "Then we need a plan," he said, stepping closer to the viewport that revealed the incoming fleet. The ships were sleek, dark, and menacing, moving with precision. "We can't just wait for orders. If they hit the station directly, we'll be finished." Liara nodded, her silver skin reflecting the red emergency lights. "Your methods are unusual. You wish to act without approval. That's humans," Ethan said. "We improvise. We act when others hesitate." Together, they moved toward the station's central control room. Alarms blared and other aliens rushed past, shouting in their fast, unfamiliar language. Many of them froze as they saw Ethan, a human, stepping into the chaos with confidence. Some glanced at Liara as if seeking permission, and she nodded sharply. He was not alone. The control room was a whirlwind of activity. Screens flashed with readings, maps, and red markers indicating enemy positions. Ethan quickly scanned the data. The station's main defenses were automated, but the enemy fleet had disabled several systems from a distance. The remaining defenses would not be enough. "There's a weakness," Ethan said. He pointed to an older system at the edge of the station's network. "It's outdated, but it can still fire if we reroute power. It's risky, but it's the only shot to you." Liara's eyes widened. "That system is considered obsolete. It is dangerous to use. The Council forbids tampering with it." "Dangerous beats dead," Ethan said firmly. "We don't have the luxury of rules right now." She hesitated, then nodded. Together they moved toward the older system. The cables and panels hummed with energy. Ethan worked quickly, following instincts honed from years of solving problems on Earth. He directed Liara to help reroute power, her fingers precise and sure as they manipulated the alien technology. Sparks flew in small arcs and the air was thick with heat, but neither flinched. The enemy fleet approached closer. Their ships fired and the station shuddered under the impact. Ethan ignored the tremor, focusing on the task. Liara glanced at him and he could see the faintest trace of awe in her expression. He was human, yes, but she had never seen courage like this before. Quick thinking, calm under pressure, acting when rules said to wait. Finally, with a deep breath, Ethan flipped the final switch. The old defense cannons roared to life. Red beams of energy cut through the darkness of space, striking the enemy ships with precision. One after another, the attackers were forced to retreat, their formation breaking under the sudden and unexpected assault. The control room fell silent. The remaining crew stared at Ethan, some with shock, others with a new respect. Liara stood beside him, her eyes reflecting the glow of the battle outside. "You acted differently," she said quietly. "You did what my people would not. You saw the solution when they could not." Ethan wiped sweat from his brow. "Sometimes you have to trust instincts over orders. Sometimes survival isn't about following rules. It's about doing what needs to be done." Her gaze softened, almost imperceptibly. "This is why the Council fears humans, and this is why they should not. You are dangerous, but not in the way they think. You bring hope where others see only rules." Ethan felt a small smile tug at his lips. The words carried both warning and praise. He had saved the station, but he also knew that this action would ripple through the Council in ways he could not yet predict. As the enemy fleet disappeared into the distance, leaving only the stars behind, Ethan and Liara stood together at the viewport. The station shuddered lightly, recovering from the recent assault, but the immediate danger was gone. For now, Ethan realized something as he looked at Liara. She had not just followed him. She had chosen to trust him, to act alongside him even when the risks were extreme. And in that trust, a bond had formed stronger than orders or duty. A bond that neither the Council nor the chaos of space could easily break. In that moment, amid the calm after the storm, Ethan understood that humans were not just survivors. They were catalysts. Their courage, their instinct, their ability to act in the unknown could change outcomes when rules failed. And with Liara by his side, he felt that maybe, just maybe, the galaxy had a place for him and for humanity after all. The station had quieted. The alarms were gone. The corridors returned to their usual glow, and the hum of machinery sounded steadier than before. Ethan walked alongside Liara, still amazed at how quickly the calm had returned after the chaos of the attack. Yet he knew the true test had not ended. The Council would still decide his fate, and the whispers of distrust would not vanish easily. They entered the main chamber together. Aliens of various shapes and colors were seated in elevated rows, their eyes fixed on him. The Council had convened to determine what to do with the human who had saved the station without permission. Ethan felt their gazes, sharp and probing, weighing every action he had taken, every decision, every word. Liara stepped forward beside him. Her presence was steady, unwavering. She had always been his observer, his companion. But now she was also his advocate. Ethan felt a quiet strength in her proximity. One of the Council members, a tall alien with translucent skin that shimmered faintly under the lights, spoke first. "You acted without approval. Your interference could have caused disaster." Ethan lifted his chin. "It could have, but it didn't. The station is intact because I acted. Sometimes survival is not about waiting for orders. Sometimes it is about courage, instinct, and choosing to move when no one else will." The chamber was silent. The words hung in the air, simple, honest, and yet powerful. He noticed that some Council members exchanged looks, doubt flickering across their features. Another Council member with sharp, angular features spoke next. "You are human. Your kind is unpredictable. That is why the Coalition feared them." Ethan met her gaze steadily. "I am human. We are unpredictable. But that unpredictability can save lives. It can solve problems others refuse to face. That is why I survived Earth's disasters. That is why I saved this station." Liara stepped closer, placing a hand gently on Ethan's arm. "He speaks the truth. I have watched him. He is not reckless. He is resourceful. He is human." The Council murmured among themselves. Some nodded, others frowned, but none could deny what had happened. Ethan had faced danger, acted decisively, and saved countless lives. Finally, the tallest member of the Council raised a hand. Silence fell immediately. "We have observed your actions. While we fear what we do not fully understand, we cannot ignore the fact that your choices prevented catastrophe. You acted with courage, ingenuity, and decisiveness. We recognize these traits as valuable." Ethan allowed himself a small sigh of relief, though he did not relax entirely. The decision was still not final. The Council continued. "We will permit you to remain aboard the station. You will be studied, yes, but not punished. We acknowledge your contributions. Your presence has altered how we perceive humans. Some still fear you, but many now see potential." Ethan felt a weight lift from his shoulders. The Council had not only spared him, they had validated him. He had been seen not merely as a subject, but as a being of capability and worth. Liara's hand tightened slightly around his arm. Her silver eyes met his. "See?" she whispered. "You were never just a subject. You were always more," he smiled faintly. "I guess so." As they walked back through the corridors, Ethan noticed the subtle changes around him. Some aliens nodded respectfully, some whispered quietly, no longer with fear but with admiration. The station felt slightly lighter, as if his actions had left a mark that could not be erased. That night, Ethan and Liara stood together at the viewport, gazing out into the endless stretch of stars. The galaxy seemed vast, almost intimidating, yet full of possibilities. He had no home to return to, no world left as it had been. But here, aboard the station, he felt the beginnings of something new. "You stayed," Ethan said softly, "even when it wasn't your choice." Liara's eyes met his, calm and unwavering. "It became my choice. I wished to stay close. Not because I was told to, but because I wanted to." Ethan felt a warmth in his chest. For the first time since he awoke on this station, he felt a sense of belonging, not to the council, not even to his old home, but to a bond that had formed through trust, courage, and shared experience. He realized that humans were indeed special, not just for survival but for connection, for creating bonds that crossed worlds, that defied rules, and that built hope where fear once ruled. "Then I guess this is our life now," Ethan said quietly, turning to look at her. "Together." Liara's lips curved faintly into a small, almost imperceptible smile. "Together," she agreed. Outside, the stars stretched endlessly, a universe of unknown possibilities. Inside, a human and an alien stood side by side, ready to face whatever came next. Not as student and observer, not as guest and host, but as equals, companions, and friends. For the first time, Ethan felt truly awake, and Liara stayed close as she had promised. Witnessing the human spirit in full, unbroken strength,